push the button. Push
I
the
think
button.
we're good.
Push the button. What's this?
Hey, I think we're live.
We are. I should put my phone down. Push the button. Push the button.
How is everybody this evening? We've got some
Hello,
exciting
everybody.
news today.
Yes,
Jan,
we do.
have been
I
playing
need to
in
mute that. There we go.
Godot.
I did. I've been playing with
Godot
Godot
4.
4 Alpha 2. So for those of you who aren't aware, Godot officially went into Alpha about a week and a bit ago. However, it is in Alpha. It is not feature complete. It is not, I mean, it's pretty good. It's not fully stable. There are bugs. There's, all bunch of things happening.
Yep.
So what we've got now is not ready for a course. This is just exploratory. Hello, Louis. Hello, Roderick. Hello, Mikey.
Hi.
How's the volume, by the way? We've been fiddling with the volume, so it should be a little bit better.
Yes, I've had problems hearing Jan. I think I need a hearing test. What?
And I've been having problems listening to Mikey because I just get this, ooh, kitten.
Something like that. Yeah. So we're going to try our best to show off what we've got so far. A little caveat here. We are going to have to stream from Jan's. When I run it on my system, there's some issues with transparency. It's a known issue in Godot at the moment, and it's expected it being in alpha.
Yeah, exactly.
Jan doesn't have these issues, but will have, unfortunately, Discord compression helping us out, smoothing
right, so the idea
visuals.
is to go back and forth a bit. So things
Yeah.
that, I want to show you live code and things will show you my side. Things that we want to show you in high resolution with weird alpha problems, or not alpha, transparency problems, we'll show on Mikey's screen.
Yeah.
Specifically, anything with transparency seems to have a problem with draw order the draw order. So it seems that anything with transparency will show through walls or inside the wall, and it looks a bit weird. Which one shall we do first? I figure we'll give a quick little demonstration, and then we can...
Yeah.
Why don't we do your end? Because it'll be, prettier.
It will. Let's see if I can launch Godot 4.
Plus, I've added a bunch of things that you haven't seen.
So we've got a slightly different feel this evening as well. We were trialing a new way of showing off high resolution streaming from Jan's side and everything else. Yeah, I couldn't gain access, so we're going to play with that in the background, and hopefully that will improve things over time.
I got it working. It was fine.
I couldn't see Jan.
That's fine.
A little bit of a problem there. So,
or hear me.
If I do this, hopefully that won't change the stream, but you should be able to see the screen.
I can. Okay, so don't worry about the screen. That's the volumetric fog, but nothing is rendered in this level because it's a procedurally generated dungeon, and there's nothing in it yet. So we just see the volumetric fog, which is green.
Nice. So just to really hammer that point home, there's nothing in this scene but fog.
I mean, you can see that in the scene tree. There's a level, there's navigation thing, there's a dungeon, there's an environment, and there's a timer. The timer is to wait a second after the dungeon's done before we start generating the navigation mesh.
That makes sense.
Hello, Governor.
Good evening.
Is there a sneak peek for the upcoming first RPG Blender course? What topics are covered? Good question. We will talk about that in a second.
Mm-hmm. But
all right, Mikey.
We want to show off Godot. So before I do anything else, where is the size of the dungeon? Is it an appropriate size?
It is on the dungeon generator, which is that one.
Dungeon Maker. It's a 6x6 grid.
6x6 for now.
So there's a potential. If I increase this room chance,
just put everything to the default.
Yeah,
exactly. And the erase fraction is basically chance of junctions.
Awesome. Let's press play. Shouldn't take too long to generate either, which is awesome.
Boop. There we go. All right. So if you make this big screen,
whoop,
and press escape, capture your mouse, and you'll also see Bob is following you.
So you'll also notice Aria isn't in the game yet, which is fine.
No. Now, one thing you haven't seen, Mikey, is I've added the chests. They don't do anything except for that, but rather than using animation, we're using tweens. So if you just go in and out, it won't snap to the beginning of the animation. It'll just go from where it is.
Nice.
And the same, not just the motion of the up and down, but the light. You could see there's a door there. You can see the things that are diddling through the surfaces. Yeah. That's the glitch we were talking about. So we don't know if this is a Windows thing or just on Mikey's machine or a driver issue, but when Mikey runs this, he gets this bug. I don't get this bug, but you won't get the high def when I stream. Collision particles. Mikey, show off some collision particles. Ooh.
whoa. So yes.
We have Bob the Skull on a runtime generated navigation mesh with a flashlight that Mikey can turn on and off.
What's the key for that? Left click, isn't it?
Yep. So this is one throne room. I have figured out a better way of picking the rooms. I just haven't implemented it yet. But I like the particles we have in the skulls.
Sorry, we can't show the full thing because of this horrible bug. But yes, if I'll try and get a bit closer in there, you can see there's an actual particle effect in there. It's not just a light glowing.
And a different one in the skull that's following him, although again, it's a little hard to see. But it's a little fire effect with the
much
flames coming
slower
up
fire effect as well. It's pretty.
It's a different particle.
Yeah. Let's carry on exploring. So, how many rooms do we have in this now, Jan?
Depends on the things you pick. So, if there's a 25% chance of a room, then a quarter of the grid sections should be a room. I've also removed the plain room, so you're not going to get any boring rooms with nothing in them.
Awesome. Do they all have doors, or is there a chance for a door?
Chance of doors. Up this room again. Fun.
So we've had this occasionally, and that's the beauty, or not the beauty, of procedural generation. Sometimes you get rooms randomly.
Here's a boring pillar room. Some things to notice. We've got fog coming up half a meter. This is a basic shop room. So there's a little purple fog coming up half a meter. There's a volumetric fog, which goes to which you can see the distance, and it's producing a little bit of haze. And there's a weird wall glitch where two walls are on top of each other. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. But...
I was looking at there going, something's definitely going funny there. And this is one of the giveaways that we had, that it was definitely something to do with the transparency in Godot 4 at the moment. If we have a look at that glass panel on the front there, it's completely balked.
Yeah.
That's the technical term.
We actually had a lot of trouble getting the lighting working right with this because of the way we made the meshes. Which we should talk about in a little bit.
Ooh.
Here's what you haven't seen.
So is this the same or similar to the previous code where the things were placed in the room randomly?
Currently, I have the things placed non-randomly, but the actual books on the shelves are random.
Oh, hi, Bob.
Yeah, that should be a banner, but transparency issue.
So Bob's just... Obviously, I'm moving a lot quicker than he can. He's just caught up with me. I completely forgot he was there. Oh,
Here's
nice.
A room you haven't seen.
So again, another room.
I do love the lighting effects in this version.
Yes, it's smoother. It's almost like the caramel version of the previous game.
Well, yes. I mean, you can really see, because these are the same meshes that we had before.
Yeah.
Right. But they feel very differently. You can tell there's a different lighting engine going on. But just with a little bit of fog, like we've got amber light, we've got some blue glowies, and we've got some violet light, and this room just feels, much more efficient. Here, like the gem boxes give you a subtle red light.
Yes.
And to get close,
if we can find the potion room, if there is one in this level.
What's a potion room?
The one with the green cauldron.
Oh, yes.
Ooh, dark corridors. Now you've definitely tweaked the lights during the week when we were both playing this and testing things out. There was the rooms felt a lot, or the corridors felt a lot darker. So I think the ambient light has gone up.
We now have SDFGI properly running in this one. It wasn't when you were looking at it, and that's picking up the volumetric fog. Question from Governor: have you noticed any difference with performance between Godot 3 and Godot 4 with Vulkan? Yes, I have. Part of that is we have occlusion working, so each room has its own occlusion. Do you want to restart the level? See if
I am going to. I'm going to have room chance at 75%, so we'll have far more rooms, so we can hopefully get the spell room or the potions room.
But yes, you get much bigger. Nice.
I forgot that the pit room was actually something we could have. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. No. This runs a lot smoother with a lot more going on. Part of that is the occlusion, because we can now get 10 by 10 grid, and it'll still run at 60 frames a second on my machine. I would jump over this if I were you.
So what happened there was I died and the level regenerated. So a brand new level.
There's a lot of chasms in this level.
Yes.
Okay, you're looking for the cauldron, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Is this going to be... There's a lot of the altar rooms as well.
Which I need to make more interesting. some sort of meeting room.
I suppose the good thing about being able to see through the walls slightly is you kind of have a bit of an idea what's lying up ahead.
Didn't stop you from leaping into a pit of fire, though, did it?
Ah, that's horribly graphic.
It is. I don't like it.
I see it. I see it up ahead.
Yay!
So one of the things I noticed a lot when walking around here is just that added. Look at all the light changes. I mean, the purple one would have shown it as well, but the fact that this is so different.
Well, turn off your flashlight.
Beep.
And it's the difference that haze makes is huge.
Yes. Should point out, of course, I'm definitely comparing this to Godot 3 when I'm being amazed by it and everything else. So, of course, there's so much more to go, and now that we've got this new rendering engine, we are having a look at the different materials as well, because they're going to look significantly different in a different rendering engine.
Well, they really do. Like, I had to take the shine off the stone completely, like to turn the roughness up to 1, because it just looked plastic.
It looked like a well-cleaned dungeon, didn't it?
So, yes. But yeah, so this is a nice little introduction to what we've got. Differences between in performance. I mean, do you want to show how a 10x10 runs? It'll take longer to load.
Yes.
But once it's loaded, we shouldn't notice any difference. Now, the first time I asked Mikey to do this, he did a 20x20, and I said, don't do it bigger than 10x10. It might hang. My code isn't optimized. Did he listen? No. No, he did not.
When do I ever listen?
Hello, coffee.
So yes, this will take a few moments longer to run.
Yeah.
But the fact that we can do this, we can tweak things and just have a different dungeon to play. And it is,
I also need
this is a lot quicker as well. It is a lot quicker than it was previously.
Yeah. I need to optimize the actual procedural generation. Like I've spotted a couple of areas that could massively speed this up. But we should be going in.
Yep.
Where'd it go?
Or it might have crashed.
It might have crashed.
I think it might have crashed. So I'll try again. And again, this is
Making
why
navigation mesh has been known to crash things, which is why I put the pause in. If we've gone by 10x10, the pause might not be long enough. So that could be the issue.
Yeah, possible. And that's one of the things why we're waiting for this to be stable. It's so difficult if you're learning a piece of software.
There we go.
Excellent. Yeah, it's so difficult if you're learning a bit of software and you don't know whether you've caused the crash through something, and dividing by 0 is a very common one. But if you don't know why it's crashing, then it's a very bad learning experience. So we do want to make sure that Godot is not only stable for us to be able to teach, but also stable for people to learn it as well.
I mean, there's also the fact that there's no feature freeze yet. Like, expect everything to change. The way I've been doing this is we're keeping a record on Git, but at any point, a change might come into Godot, or we might do something which just breaks the project. Like, this is not ready for runtime, for showtime. You should not be using this for live projects. Like, this is very much exploratory, but we already have some fun particles, navigation. Yep. The new navigation system's a lot of fun. Bob is actually being driven by something called a navigation agent. You just drop the navigation agent in, and then you can tell it find the path. Well, not even find the path. Like, here's your destination. Your new destination is here. Great.
There he is.
Here's your maximum speed. Yeah. And also, if you jump where he can't get to you, he'll just stop and wait for you to move. Ah, yes.
I found my favorite room.
Tidying up simulator. I don't know why he does this, but he does like to do it. Also, turn off that flashlight. There we go. You're ruining my pretty lights.
I want to show everybody the light. Oh, has the door shut? Has he lost? Oh no, he's
door.
there. You won't. Is he stuck?
He might be.
I think he's stuck. Never mind.
Give him a push.
Nudge. Yay! Come on, Bob. Simple things.
So the library I did today, the throne room I did today. I'm just basically playing with lots of different versions. The rooms are rotated randomly. There's one of 4 possible rotations they can be.
Yeah.
At the moment, they're all having to be designed with there's between 1 and 4 doorways, so we can't put things in the center of the wall.
Yeah.
We could change that and just have here's a list of rooms with 1 doors. Here's a list of rooms with 2. I don't really want to get into that, but we could.
In fact, for the most... Oh, I've got another room that I need to tidy.
Except you've moved one of your benches, so you can't.
I mean, one of the reasons why
These benches, by the way, have collision avoidance on them. So if you hide behind a bench, Bob will try and avoid the benches.
There he goes. So yeah, I think one of the reasons why I wanted to try this is before in Godot 3 when it came to the physics engine. You did get quirky things. Hi, Bob.
He just tiny Bob away.
I'll just put this lid back on. No, so beforehand, when I would do something like that, the benches would just go completely chaotic and probably end up out of the map, which is quite.
And also, if you put something out of reach of navigation, so right now Bob is outside the navigation mesh, you would just get a massive crash. But now I can put in, if it is reachable, then navigate. If not, stop.
And this opens up.
If it's reachable equals false, then linear velocity equals vector 3, 0.
I was just thinking, this now really opens up to the fact that if there are many skeletons, I mean, we've got to try this soon with some NPCs in to see how performance.
Well, should we talk about Blender and assets?
Yeah.
Okay. You're not coming back to the camera, are you? Oh, there you go.
I am coming back to the camera, yes. I just need to hide this out the way. Yeah.
Ooh. Oh.
Boop.
Hello.
I do that.
So yeah, we can talk about the sneak peek of the Blender courses and stuff. One thing we found, so when we first made these assets, we made a decision very early on that we're going to assign materials, but we're not going to texture them. So there's no point in UV unwrapping anything. And that's fine in Godot 3, but in Godot 4, it means the lighting doesn't work.
It
means you get weird 45-degree shadow on every asset because it doesn't know where the lighting goes. So I had to go through our assets on every single one and unwrap them.
Fortunately, Blender has
put UV coordinates on them.
Smart UV unwrapping is all we needed to do in this particular case, which is actually all you need to do in a lot of cases anyway when it comes to unwrapping your assets. So unwrapping will definitely be a workflow that we now do definitely look at. Even if we're not going to texture them, they will definitely be UV unwrapped. Which might.
For those of you who don't know what UV unwrapped is, you make me do it, aren't you?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, okay. See if I taught you well.
Okay, so UV coordinates. So you've got a position in space on a mesh, right? So you've got the X, Y, and Z, or if you're American, X, Y, and aluminum. But you've got a 2-dimensional texture, and you need to wrap that 2-dimensional texture onto your 3-dimensional thing. So you need 2 more coordinates. You need the UV, which is where you are on the texture, X, Y, aluminum. And that will show you this pixel goes to this vertex or this texel. How'd I do?
Pretty close, yeah.
Our original assets, the UV didn't exist. Everything was 0, 0. They were all in the same position.
Yeah.
Which was fine in Godot 3. But in Godot 4, the lighting engine went, nope, not doing it.
So here is a great example. And because of the way I'm sharing at the moment, I can just...
drag it.
Kind of, yeah.
He can. He's not going to, but he can.
So this is a great example. It comes up almost every year when Christmas chocolates come out. Is how do you map this 2D surface to the 3D object?
Which is very like Governor's example. When you want to paint an orange after you peel it.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. A sphere is nearly impossible to project the 2D map onto a 3D image or a 3D globe onto a 2D image. It works both ways. So that's why you have so many different projections when it comes to the map of the Earth. The Earth being a sphere.
We only really use one.
You can't really undo it. Yeah, the Mercator projection's a common one, which skews towards the northern hemisphere, which makes the UK look massive. and Africa look tiny. When in
There's
reality,
a joke about UK Massive going on here, but I'm not feeling very patriotic right now, so I'm not going to do it. So yeah, because we have a new lighting engine, when we opened it up, it felt like a bug. So every single torch that I put on a wall would have this weird 45-degree shadow. So this part would be lit fine, this part would be dark.
yeah,
and we couldn't figure it out. And then I started making CSG meshes and basic mesh cubes and lighting those, and they lit fine.
and of course they already have a UV map as part
Eventually,
of
we
them.
figured out it's the UV map, so I had to just go through manually and do them all and re-import them. And now every time I'm importing props, I hate to do all that stuff.
And what I will do when it comes to that point in the course is, if you need to unwrap your models, but you don't need to unwrap them in a specific way, you can just use Smart UV Unwrap. Yeah. And most of the time you can just do it as you're going along. However, there's no real reason why you can't come to it at a later point and Smart UV Unwrap a load of assets. And you might want to do that if you're working with someone and they haven't done that process. So we'll be writing a little script to open up the object, unwrap it, and send it on its merry way, basically.
Yep.
So yeah, there was a question earlier about the the Blender stuff for the Godot RPG. So we have in production at the moment the procedural weapons in Blender. Now, that will start shipping for early access people towards the end of this month. So in the next 7 days. Yeah, that's right. It's 28 days this month.
Yep.
Now, one of the things that I've decided to do, because we've had some wonderful feedback, someone might be watching who made that feedback, is when we add to a course sequentially, so just uploading lectures 1 or 2 as we're recording them, Teachable at the moment has no way of informing you that's actually happening. Your percentage of course complete doesn't change, even though it should. So that seems to be baked in. It can never go backwards, which is a shame. And obviously you don't want to reset your progress on a course just to see what your latest progress is. I've sent off a support ticket to Teachable to see whether that's something they can actually rectify. But up until that, so off from that, we are, or certainly I am going to release sections at a time, so you know that material is all there. So for instance, mid this week, I think the last final edits are coming together for the music course, so that whole section will become available in the next couple of days.
And have you been unwrapping your weapon stuff? No,
not yet. I will need to. That will be incorporated into all of these new things, and this really does circle back to when we often talk about having a spec sheet, a game design document, an asset design document from the beginning of when you start any project, because then you know exactly what's going on. Are your models going to be textured? Well, the answer to that for us was no, which also meant in the past that UV unwrapping wasn't necessary. Now it is, because we've changed which game engine we're using.
Incidentally, the Sword Maker is in that version of Godot.
Oh.
You just can't access it from the menu, but if you want to show it off in high def, you can.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Because that's a good way of showing the new, one, procedural generation, and 2, the new lighting material system. So if you look up, if you, on the file system, type in random sword, one word, there it is.
And
just run that scene. Yep. So open it. And then, nope. Yep.
So what we have in front of us here, we showed it off a couple of weeks ago when we had it working in, must have been about a month ago, actually, when we were having it working in Godot 3. So now, unfortunately, this text here is quite small.
Yes, I haven't brought the font in.
So when we press space, it generates a brand new weapon, assigns materials with value.
Right, so the materials have a damage and a monetary value, and the damage value is more important if it's the very edge of the blade, and the monetary value is more important if it's the center of the blade. So we have a very basic algorithm, and we're generating or picking the blade, the hilt, and the pommel. hilt in this specific context is the grip, the hilt, and the crossguard, or the bit you hold in your hand, and the pommel is the counterweight at the back.
Yes. So this is those pieces that we use in Blender in order to create random weapons. This is those pieces into Godot and the random weapons made in Godot. Now, there's pros and cons to doing the random generation in either of the packages. Because we want weapons to be able to be generated at runtime, so you get to experience different weapons every time you play, it's better to assemble them in Godot, meaning that you only have, let's say you have 5 handles, 5 guards, and 5 blades. Jan's only going to have to randomly generate from 15 different assets. If I go and generate lots and lots of different weapons, then you have far more mesh data to bring across. So in that case, you're really, I suppose you're balancing bandwidth with storage.
Jovelin asked a good question. I'll answer that in a moment. But Governor, how did you decide to start with the weapons? I know why I said I wanted to start with weapons, but Mikey, why did you decide that weapons is a good place to start?
Because it was low down on the list of things we're going to be covering.
Yeah, it's an easy place to start. Yeah. I was just starting with the idea of how to generate procedural weapons from our side, from the programming side, and I needed some assets, and they were a good place for Mikey to start, so that they sort of converged from there.
Yeah, that's very true. You needed some assets, so
I was just designing a system. It's like, okay, will this system work?
And it was also low down on the list of things that we were going to cover. So getting that out of the way, it's not going to be a very long course because we're simply modeling and codifying using geometry nodes, the actual random generation, and also automating the export of those assets. The thing that I really going to push in a lot of the various courses is when we're creating multiple of something, we need a way that if we tweak several meshes at once, we don't have to laboriously go through and file and export. So there'll be a lot of emphasis, not only on the procedural generation, which can save time. It's not always a time saver. Obviously, making 15 weapons...
Time is a bad reason to do procedural generation.
Variation is a good reason.
Yeah. Okay. Is occlusion culling also generated at runtime? I'm going to share my screen.
Yep, sure. I'll make you full screen.
Okay, good. And I'll make sure I can see my key. All right, so this is the basic level, and I can add... there we go. I can add an occluder instance
there we go.
3D.
So everybody was just watching you for a moment there.
Great. So I can add an occluder instance 3D, and I can make a brand new occluder. And so far, so good. But when I make it, I just press bake occluder. It'll take all the meshes and assign the information. But if I go into documentation, there's nothing in here to rebake this at runtime. So I can't bake occlusion at runtime. So what I've done instead is if I go to the actual floors, so the way the room maker works is it picks a floor with all its props and then decides, do I need walls or doors? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to floor underscore, and let's pick, I don't know, pillars 2.
Yep.
So here is my occluder instance. I don't know how clear those purple lines are on YouTube. That's the occlusion. So what I've done is I've said every floor must have an occluder instance. When I go through this again, especially when we do this of course, I'm going to use inheritance. So all floors are a child of plane floor, and they must have an occluder instance and whatever else we need. But in this case, I'm just doing it manually. Any changes I make, let's say I move these braziers to here, you'll notice the occluder information is now in the wrong place. So I'm going to go here and bake the occluder. When I run the game,
without the artifacts, of course.
Without the artifacts, but with compression, all of that information is now being held. So each corridor, each room, every static body, there we go. So these things have now moved. Every static body now has occlusion. What's interesting is if I forget to give each floor its own type of occlusion, and I walk to where a bookshelf was in a different room, everything just vanishes. And it's a great reason to write a little script to catch everything. I don't know how clear this is on YouTube or how well it's broadcasting. I know that
pretty smooth at the moment.
So on my screen, this is 60 frames a second. I don't know.
It's definitely smooth here. I don't think we're transmitting at 60 frames per second. I think we're locked at 30.
But yes. You'll notice that none of the particles are showing through walls. Woo! So yeah, there's that. Don't really want to do too much of this because without the high definition, it doesn't look as good. But I just like wandering around here. It feels really pretty. I'm not yet at the position where I'm ready to export this and let people play with it, just because it crashes and there's little bugs now and again. Nothing major, but just stuff I'd like to learn and optimize. But yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Beep, boop. Awesome.
And minimize that. So currently, occlusion culling is not possible at runtime, or rather, rebaking the occlusion map is not possible at runtime. I don't know how good the solution I have is. Like, I feel like I'm being a little, what's the word? I'm redoing the same task again and again and again.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, there's places I want to go back and optimize, but at the moment it works really well. With that occlusion turned off, it is much slower. And there is actually a fun way you can test occlusion, which is to turn off collision on the camera.
Oh, yes.
And then when you go into a wall, you can actually see the occlusion happening.
So much to actually get into Godot 4 as well. Is there anything specific in Godot 4 at the moment that you're really looking forward to? Something that's perhaps not ready yet, but...
Oh, there's a ton of stuff. Okay, let's play. I'll
hey!
Get back into here and share my screen again.
Welcome to Jan's Let's Play.
All right, so let's start with our firewall.
Oh yes, the particles. Yes, brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. So here's my particles. I have two Omni lights right in the center here. That if I stop the emission, boop, are just there so that when you walk towards the thing, you cast shadows. There's a number of fun things going on here. Fun thing number one is if I open my, I don't want the light. I want the. There we go. If I open my process material. I scroll down, we've got collision. If I open my character has a GPU particles collision. Now at the moment, there's a limit to how many shapes you can have. There's a sphere, there's a box, and there's an array. I don't want to mess around with it too much, I'm just using a basic box. But there's a lot of fun things you can do. Another great fun thing is what I call it stream. No, I called it water jet.
Oh, you said you were playing with water.
Okay, so I've got a water jet and a spray. Both are particles. The water jet has sub-emitter spray. Okay, and I can pick a sub-emitter. And if I go all the way down to sub-emitters, at collision, I want you to do this. So if I go to the starter room and I bring that in, and let's just move that to the side. Okay, now bear in mind, the collision shape is a cube, so this won't look perfect, but give it a second to catch up, let the navigation bake so it's a bit faster. Come on, Bob, there we go. There we go. When I walk into it, it's generating a spray.
That's awesome.
Right?
I'm really glad I asked the question
so at the
now.
end of fire, we could have smoke.
Yes.
There's amazing things we could do with this. Other cool things. The SDFGI itself, the lighting system, is just a lot of fun. It took me a while to get the volumetric fog and so forth where I wanted them. And currently, oh, I actually had that off. When I turn on SGFGI, I'm going to get these kinds of errors.
Yep.
Unless I reload the project. So if I reload current project, I thought that was on. Let's try that again. Boop.
That's interesting. I remember when particles were like that in Blender, where you had to restart the blend file for the cache to actually delete.
Alpha. Okay, so now this looks a little bit darker, right? So as we go in, it's a little bit jerky while navigation is baking. I shouldn't really be moving around while it's doing this, but you can. There we go. So now this is why I had to bring the flashlight in. There's also little bugs with the lighting that, sometimes they do this. Hello, little cupboard. It's clearly a janitor's cupboard.
That's brilliant.
The new navigation system is awesome. I mean, the fact that each of these rooms could have its own navigation server. I'm not doing it this way, but they could, right? I could generate a navigation server for each room and then bring them in. Where's Bob? Oh, there he is. Work it that way. But if I take a look at the actual navigation code, again, hot code, don't judge me. La, 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 la.
Also, might crash any moment.
Yeah. So within Bob, one, there's a GPU particle sphere, because why not? 2, Navigation Agent 3D.
Is that a new node, isn't it?
That is a brand new thing. This is not how navigation used to work. Targets, desired distance. How far from the target should you be? What's the radius of the agent?
Yeah.
The height offset from the navigation mesh. I'm not playing with that. And then a bunch of neighbors things you can do. All right. So let's take a look at the NPC script. So this is 27 lines of code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of which are empty. Let's go and embiggen the screen. Why aren't you embiggening? Oh, there's a different button now. Okay, good. Okay. So the velocity. This is just basically how fast do I want you to move. I can change that.
Yeah.
Currently, I've got a print player just to show you, oh, I found the player. Cool. Every node. If there is a player, so if you haven't found the player yet, just ignore all of this. Look at the player. Great. Here we go. Navigation Agent 3D, set target location, player, global transform origin. In other words, every frame, if you know who the player is, I want you to set your target to the position on the map where the player is.
The world
I
position,
haven't written any of that code. I've just called it directly. It's just built into Navigation Agent 3D. If Navigation Agent 3D distance to target is less than 1.5 meters, magic number. In other words, if you're close enough, I want you to set your linear velocity, which is a brand new function in Rigid Dynamic Body 3D, which is the new Rigid Body 3D, to vector 3.0. Stop moving. Otherwise, if the target is reachable, I want you to get to the next location in your path. And here's the fun bit. Your velocity is going to be target minus global transform origin normalized. In other words, from where they are to where you are. In other words, move in that direction. Normalized time velocity. So move in that direction times speed. We're not accelerating or decelerating, we're just moving. Navigation agent set velocity vel.
Yeah.
This allows obstacle avoidance. If there's an obstacle in the way, slow down and try and find a way around it. If you can't find a way around it, just get close and then stop. So this is how it's going to handle doors. Doors have obstacles set as obstacles. So if the door is closed, it'll get to the door and stop, or find another way around. It won't keep running into the door.
I mean, this isn't something that we plan to implement at all. But just on that, I can imagine you being able to, if you were making a stealth game, you can now shut a door, meaning that they can no longer see you, and make the last target the new obstacle, and then proceed to search from there once they've reopened the door.
I can also do things like, if I go to the table has a navigation obstacle in it.
Mm-hmm.
So the skeletons, the NPCs, won't run blindly through the table and push it. They'll try and avoid the table.
Oh, that's going to be a huge difference to the playability.
If the table is wedged into the door, remember they can't jump, they will stop.
Ah. You can barricade a door.
You can barricade a door. Emergent gameplay.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the nice thing about this is I haven't had to write any of this. The actual, methods, I mean, the documentation isn't there yet, but the actual methods are built in and ready to go. So, yeah, you just drop it into a rigid body and you use the built-in commands. I had to look them up on the Godot 4 blog, and they'll work. This signal here, on navigation agent 3D velocity computed, and it returns safe velocity. This is to do with obstacles.
Yeah.
And they can be moving obstacles, right? So it could be other NPCs.
That's good. That also means they're not going to bunch up into one another.
Or traps.
Now we're going to have an awareness value.
Swinging, they'll slow down and try and move. Things like that, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll just set linear velocity, which is the new way that you move rigid dynamic bodies, to safe velocity. So that system is amazing. And the way the navigation server works, right now we just have one navigation region. But if you have multiples and they touch, they'll just work.
That's such a godsend for level building. If you weren't making your level procedurally, then you're going to want to be able to, like, if you've curated your rooms, if you're making your whole level modular, but you're putting it together, being able to stitch together a navigation layer just by having them next to one another means you can complete a room. You don't have to wait until the level is designed.
And hello, Lucifer. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I hope I am.
Yes. That's my guess.
Or Lucifer, or Luckifer. I have no idea. So yeah, there's a lot I'm looking forward to. The new navigation took me a while to get used to because I'm used to writing the whole thing myself. Like, get the path, and if there's a path, get to the next point. But nope, you don't do any of that. You just say, set your destination, move to the next point in your destination. Yeah. I'm redoing this every frame to deal with the fact the player's moving. But if we were doing mouse clicks, you just do it once, fire and forget.
Yes, you could even use that to design a character that you click to move, which is a different control paradigm than what we've gone for.
Absolutely. Most of the plugins we were using are not yet in Godot 4, which makes sense because it's only just come into alpha. So I haven't been able to play with any of those. I'm hoping that the behavior tree plugin comes back, otherwise I'm just going to have to write it from scratch, which is doable. It's not that complicated, but it's a lot of work. But
and also, God Rays don't. Well, God Rays.
I do miss the God. Well,
they do kind of work already.
All right, share my screen one more time.
I know there's a way of having to do it. I wonder if you can use a mask on a light in order to create God Rays. Yeah, I know you can do that.
Kind of. Okay, let me put this. No, not like that. Come back. All right. So if I go into the environment settings and I go to volumetric fog and I set my density to 1.
Okay. It's dark.
This will get you God Rays. Like if there's a light pushing through here, it will work as a God Ray. But
it's also a bit hard to see anything.
It's very hard to see anything, right? Because it's so foggy. And with SDFGI, there's no ambient light. So that's what you're stuck with. So, yes, you can. Also, I like that everything in Godot now updates dynamically by default.
You kept telling me and I kept ignoring you the other day.
Yep. You can get things working with little God Rays, but just like in real life, the way you get God Rays is by limiting vision and putting particles in the air.
Yeah.
Right? So if you want to see God Rays, you need something in the air to be hitting, the light needs to hit against.
Yeah.
So a smoke machine, mist.
Or you need to fake it.
Fog.
And then it won't be as potentially as dynamic as what would it be normally. So
I do like Bob.
I like the way he looks up at you. That does make a difference.
I like the way he waits for you to get somewhere he can get to.
Good boy, Bob. Let's close that back down. So yeah, lots of exciting
hello,
stuff.
Speedy Boy.
Oh, Hey, hello, Speedy Boy.
Your game should be named Amazed by Godot 4. Yeah, that's a good name. We've been calling it the Your Godot 4 Action RPG. We kickstarted it last year.
Why, Gar?
I'm hoping that if you guys make actual games out of this as opposed to just the course, you're welcome to just use it as an educational thing. But if you make games out of it, that you come up with better names.
Yeah.
We struggle with names. So things that unfortunately, Mikey has a huge amount of assets to create. I can sort of dip into various places and like put a capsule in and move it around, but like we have new animations and we have a new character, we have modular armor, like there's a whole bunch of things to make.
Yeah, lots
and
of fun
until we
as
get
well.
those, I'm just playing with systems because it's
Godot's
there's
not
no
stable
real reason
either.
to play with a combat system yet.
Yeah, so we're going to expect, and this is actually really nice as well because it's going to enable us to have lots of assets available for the production of the Godot, the scripting and the coding side of everything. Whereas last time with Godot Getaway, we did it in tandem, and we ended up with amazing assets that just weren't used.
Actually, I started before you.
Yes, that's very true. We just went off with the prototype stuff.
So I had these very, perfectly serviceable assets, and then you were like, "Oh, I can make modular buildings. My car looks much better. Look at these assets
that you don't have." No.
You could absolutely put a cafe in this. There's nothing stopping you. In fact, we have the assets to make a basic taverny bar room. I am tempted to switch the room generation so that it picks a room based on how many entrances and exits it has.
Okay.
So that you can make better use of the walls and things. But that means I'm going to make variations for the various different things you can have. Like if it's got no doors, it's not a room, so don't worry about it.
Oh, it's a hidden room.
Will the armor, etc., be what you see is what you get? Not sure I understand the question.
Do you mean is... No, I don't understand the question. It will be what you see is what you get, as in the modeling that you've done is what you get. I mean, you can, and we want to explore the idea of potentially using shape keys to change the size of the armor for different body types. So then if you do have a female character, you could just modify the mesh that's used as a plate, let's say, for a male character. Or you could just have the characters all flat and unibody.
I mean, the plan is to use the same kind of material system that we're using in the weapons, so if that's what you're asking. Like, if it's a copper and leather jerkin, for example, then you'll see it as copper and leather. It will have that thing, but
It will have those either damage attributes or defense attributes or whatever
and we
attributes
definitely want
with those
the character model to show the armor.
Mm-hmm. Because so if you're wearing that type of armor, we want it on the character.
Yes, if you Governor, just type that. If you put different armor on, will the model reflect that? Yes. We don't want to make the system like in, for example, a cheap MMO where there's no visual difference to your model based on what you equip.
It's just a stat change on the side. No.
Yeah. If you watch Joff Strife Plays Worst MMO Ever series, you'll see plenty of these.
It's weird. If you were to just ask me that question offhand, it would be, well, of course. Why wouldn't you?
It's easier not to from our side, but the player experience is worse.
Yeah, and much worse.
The whole point with having procedurally generated modular weapons and armor is the player gets to discover things and create a whole new story and run each time they play.
You could even collect armor sets that
if it's
have been
just
curated by
piece
an
of
algorithm
text that says you have found an awesome helmet that looks awesome.
Yeah,
it doesn't. Hello, render.
Hello.
So yeah, I mean, things I'm looking forward to in Godot is huge. In Godot 4, the way it looks is amazing. The new physics. I'm pretty sure the physics updated. Well, in fact, I know the physics updated is
the physics is much better
great.
Than it's been.
The changes to particles. I haven't even played with particle attractors.
Hi, Star Dragon.
Hello, Star Dragon. Particle attractors. Do you want to see a particle attractor, Mikey?
Yeah.
All right, let's make a particle attractor real quick.
Ooh. Sit down, boys and girls, and get comfortable, for we have a show.
Make a 3D scene, and I'm going to put a particle in it. So particle, GPU particle 3D. Boom. And I'm going to call this magic. Fine. First thing, I want to give it a draw pass. So I'm going to give this a quad. New quad mesh. And I'm going to click on it and give it a size, say 0.25 by 0.25. That's metric, so 25 centimeters by 25 centimeters. Brand new standard material, and we're good to go. Now, go in here, and that's just a grey block. Don't like that. Let's make some changes. Number one, let's give it alpha. Let's add it. It's complaining right now. And unshaded. And yes, I know. There's nothing to put. You're fine. Calm down. New particle textures. Let's give it I don't know, blobs. Done. And come out of there, come back, and that will stop the errors. Okay. Right now we've got a quad mesh that doesn't follow us around, so let's fix that. We're going to go to particles, billboard, particle billboard. And now there we go. It's following us around. Okay, just a couple more things we need. Let's give it an actual behavior. So, process material, particles material, and let's make some changes here. Fingers on the wrong place on the keyboard. There we go. I'm going to turn off gravity. And I'm going to change the angle to be from negative 180 degrees to 180 degrees. And let's give it a scale curve.
Yeah.
Yes, mate.
Gravity.
What's the matter? Does anyone want Mikey? There we go. Okay, so we now have a basic weird magic thing. I'm actually going to change a couple more things to make this easier to look at. In albedo, nice. Let's use the albedo and go into the color and give you a nice greeny color. And it's crashed.
No.
Yep.
Ah.
It's fully crashed.
And this is why Godot's not quite ready yet.
This happens quite a lot. So, I need to get my mouse back first off. Hello, mouse.
It's stolen your mouse.
Yeah, it really has. I can't click on anything. Yep, I am Fubard. So, that's a nice little thing. You might want to stop sharing the screen or watching my share.
There we go.
Can I? No, I can't do that. Okay. Yeah, the mouse has just stopped working.
Yeah.
But one thing you can do is you can put a tractor on something else and tell the particles, I want you to use attractors. And then as it gets within the range that you set in the particle, it'll start flowing towards that point.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
There's all kinds of fun things you can do with that, right? Magic spells, all kinds of things. I'm a bit annoyed that I can't see this. Oh, my mouse.
Godot 4's angry. It's taken out your computer with it. At least you're still here.
I am still here.
Yep. But without any show and tell left.
Without any show and tell left.
But saying that, we are coming up to the time where we start to ask our wonderful audience if they've got any specific questions other than...
And they can make my computer work.
Yes.
It's frozen.
I would suggest trying to turn it off and on again. But... Bye. Yes, Renda, you're quite right there. When they say alpha, they aren't kidding. But
no, we are in alpha. We are definitely in alpha.
But at least they're giving us downloads now so we can try it out instead of having to compile it as well. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I got no mouse. I've got no mouse to clink around.
I don't know that song. I'm not going to join in.
It's from Pinocchio.
Okay.
We're fully in alpha, but It's very fun to play with, and once you know what you're doing, or you just mess around with it a bit, or take our courses and learn how to make particles and so forth. You can make some really cool effects.
What I'm going to do is, for the latecomers, actually just show them around the dungeon.
Yep, and for the latecomers, there is a bug on Mikey's version. We're not sure if it's a Windows thing or a driver conflict, but anything with transparency shows through the walls.
Which you'll see almost immediately. Oh, yes, I've got a...
It could well be a Linux problem. So, or it could just be that I pressed the button somewhere and it went wrong.
Very true. So this is just loading up. We've got a...
is this the 10 by 10 grid again?
Yes, I realised that after pressing play. So it's going to take a few moments to load up. So this is a potential... What's 100 by 100 grid? No, 10 by 10.
It's 100 by 100 grid. Well, 10 by 10 grid. It's 100 different room grid.
Potential rooms. So there's going to be...
Not potential rooms, 100 rooms. Some of them will be corridors, but...
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, yeah, Alpha 1
Oh, yeah, no, it's absolutely going fast. I think it's crashed, Mikey. So if you want to go to the level...
Oh, yes, yeah. Hold on a second. Level, dungeon. I'm going to set it back down to 6 by 6, wasn't it?
Just press the default button.
Is there a default on the width?
Well, 6 is the default, so it won't show that.
Let's try that again. There we go. Perfect. So yes, we do have, unfortunately, some artifacting that's certainly happening on my machine. But otherwise, everything is working as expected. Lovely lighting engine. We got the particles. These ones react, so I'm able to block it off.
And the chest, of course. Turn off the flashlight. Ruining my lighting.
And we've got Bob. So we now have a navigation mesh that is baked at runtime. Come on.
What's nice is if you jump over a chasm where he can't follow you, but there's another way around, he will find the other way to get to you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Does navigation mesh work with grid maps? I believe it does. In fact, I haven't played with it because we're not using grid maps for this, but there is a tick box to use navigation. So I believe it does, Jovelin. I've just not played with it. But the fact that you can bake navigation at runtime means there's no reason why it wouldn't. Because the navigation mesh will either take the mesh data or the collision data or both. In this case, we're taking collision data, not mesh data, because I don't want it to pick random props. Anything that's marked as on the scenery collision layer gets marked with the navigation or gets part of the navigation. Anything that's just a prop will not be.
So I just wanted to zoom in close here to the skulls. One of the things Jan was showing off earlier is that they've actually got a particle in them, not just a light.
So is Bob, although it's a different particle.
Yes.
He's got little, like, floaty, fiery eye things.
That just adds to his character. Oh, the fire pit. This one really... Oh, well.
Yeah, there's a problem with the collision on that. Oh, transparency bug.
Yeah, it's definitely something to do with transparency. We know that definitely because of this glass here that is supposed to be transparent. It's not just the particle effects that are causing it, it's anything with transparency. So the gems aren't transparent, but potions are. So back here there was a book room, which I believe has some potions on the shelves, and you can just see the artifacting on those as well, unfortunately. But hopefully Alpha 3.
And these shelves are picking from 5 possible book stacks for each shelf.
Oh, yes. So those are they randomly generated?
They're randomly selected.
Randomly selected.
So you are getting patterns there, because that's how random works. But yeah. I mean, if we had a whole bunch of different patterns, or if we did this manually, I was just playing with...
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's one of those things that's... It's difficult to convey in a course. If you've got to do something 50 times, it's going to be good the first, second, and maybe third time. But then it's... Oh, they've turned off. Good. But then it's just a matter of repeating.
You are quite right, Jovlem. You couldn't bake navigation at runtime in Godot 3, which means you couldn't generate a grid map at runtime, or generate a map through a grid map at runtime, and then bake navigation in.
Yeah, we are so glad that this is one of the things that is working straight off, because we wanted to randomly generate a level, but it's difficult to randomly generate a level and have a navigation mesh if it doesn't automatically do.
Now, in Godot 3, you can use a navigation mesh with a grid map unless you're changing that grid map at runtime. That was the issue.
Ah. Haha. Doink.
Yeah, he's got no behavior other than follow and look, but, you know.
He's awesome.
27 lines of code, not too shabby. Would it be more accurate to say something like, this is procedurally arranged? The level is procedurally generated.
Yep.
So that's where you would say procedurally generated, but in terms of the bookshelves, we're not procedurally generating the books. Like, we have 5 specific scenes, and you're just picking which one to put on which shelf.
Yes. So yes, a Star Dragon. The question is this demo on Godot 3 or 4? Godot 4.
This is Godot 4.
Yes. Yes.
Godot 3 is more stable, and when we got to Godot 3, we had things like combat and all kinds of other things, and inventory systems and magic.
But all of that will be coming back over the coming...
All of that will be coming back. This is very early days and very unstable, which is demonstrated by the fact that I can't use my mouse.
So we're holding Jan hostage here whilst we finish off
the numbers on the side of my mouse work fine. Like, I could type numbers into Discord with it, but...
Yay! It's just your cursor's gone phantom. Bye-bye. Yeah.
It's not just gone phantom, it's been captured.
Literally.
Like, clicking does nothing.
Have you received the ransom note yet?
Something about cryptocurrency, but I don't deal with cryptocurrency, so I'm not doing it. You can just have my mouse. I don't care.
Plug a new one in. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We've got a few minutes left. So if anybody has any questions.
Any more questions?
Any more questions, yeah.
Yep.
Time to fire away before I nod off. Zonk.
And I go eat some more stew, because it was pretty good stew.
Ooh. What sorts of stew? What was in it?
Chicken, potatoes, carrots, butter beans, soy, lentils, some other stuff.
What sort of lentils?
Yummy one.
Yummy. Were they orange? Were they black?
No.
Green?
Red.
Red? You heard it here first. I do like
they were in a packet marked lentils. They were at the store. I bought them. That's what kind of lentils they were. Like, I can cook pretty well, but I'm not an expert in lentils.
What did you eat?
If anyone knows why Mikey went German. Where's my mouse?
I just need circular glasses and then I'll be fine. Ah, Mr. Burrett, we meet again.
Will you go over character modeling in the new course? Well,
certainly.
In the new course is the issue. This isn't one course. This is going to be a series of courses. We've got the Godot courses, which will build upon each other, but you don't have to take them all if you don't want to.
Yep.
Same with Blender.
Yep.
Not the same with the LMMS, I believe. There's only one LMMS course.
Yeah. There'll be an LMMS. Well, that one's actually almost all finished and everything published. But the other thing along with those will be the asset packs as well. So there'll be music content along with the course itself.
Correct. And yes, there will be character modeling and animation, I believe.
Yes. 2 separate courses.
Yes.
Then if anybody's actually... I'm a big fan of trying to make courses as modular as possible, so you don't have to go through a big chunk of stuff that you might already know about. So
I still like the idea of a repository where people can, if they wish, upload their characters, their animations, their scenes for other people to use as well.
Yes. Maybe one day we'll be able to put that repository together. So, for example, with the characters course, we'll go over the modeling in one course, and then if you've already done some characters that you want to learn how to animate, we'll go through the rigging and animation process.
The animations are not from Mixamo, asked Governor. Yes, the ones in Godot 3 prototype were from Mixamo, but we are not legally allowed to share those with you to make a course. We can give you a an export from Godot that uses those animations, that's fine. We can't give you those animations as files.
No. So we literally we wouldn't be able to give you access to the repo, or we could give you access to a repo, but if you ever downloaded it, it would be a broken repo because they would just
you would have to go and download the animations manually. So
yeah.
while we could point to the site, say get this animation, there's nothing saying in the future that animation won't be removed, renamed, whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, brand new animations.
The animations we were using from Mixamo, but now we need new animations.
Apart from the custom changes we made for the attacks.
Yeah.
Which were very fun to make. That was quite interesting because we were creating.
By the way, you've got like a 3-screen thing going on right now.
Yeah, that's Discord. Not much I can do about that whilst you're still streaming.
That's right. And I can't stop streaming because my mouse doesn't work.
Yeah. With the course. Well, I've actually already done a.
Well, we might have to update it for Godot 4.
Yeah, I might have to upload it for that. But I've already done I think it's a YouTube video on that particular process. I'll have to find it.
If you want to use animations from Mixamo, that should be possible.
Yeah.
And we could easily do a little video on that, or an update to the video on that. But if you want to learn how to animate the character, that's the course.
Yeah.
And we will be providing you with animations, so you don't have to go to Mixamo if you don't want to.
Yes, as part of...
Like, if you're just taking the Godot course, we'll give you the stuff you need. And if you bought the asset packs, we'll give you the stuff you need and some extra stuff.
This will probably come up now.
Might have seen...
No? Okay. I think this is the video where I show how to do that. Certainly within Blender, and then you can export it to any game engine. That's the beauty of it. So... So that's a video that I've done specifically on the process. I've actually made a script. It's on our website. It's free. It's under Canopy Games Mixamo import script. So I'll just share that.
Since then, it's become easier to do.
No, it's different. The thing that Mixamo generated works really well with the script that I've made. So that's great for grabbing one animation and bringing it in and maybe tweaking it. But obviously, if you want multiple animations all on your NLA editor, this is the add-in script for you.
Yep. And we are now past the hour.
We have.
Yeah. So I think we should start wrapping up.
One final question. Because it was there before you started that sentence. So I wanted to ask if you could implement regional pricings like GD Quest. I'm from Chile, by the way, not from Argentina.
I don't see that question. I do see James Rosie's any other casual courses planned, like Match 3 course. Yes, I want to make my Puzzle Bobble clone. I have all the assets. It's ready to go. I just haven't started recording because I've been playing with this. I would show it to you, but I can't because my mouse isn't working.
You're going to have to hard reset the computer.
I'm going to have to hard reset my computer in a minute.
Yes,
it's going to like that.
Regional pricings, I don't think we've got any direct control over that. It's something we can look into, but for the moment, it's one price regardless.
We have no control over that at all. That's a teachable thing.
We do try and make sure that our courses are as accessible as possible. We've certainly had discussions looking at other marketplaces where courses are $60, $70, $80, $200. We don't want to do the sort of thing where you say my course is $200 and it's 80% off today, so buy it for
all the time.
Time. So we do price our courses quite low, and we've had a discussion multiple times. And we wanted them to just be as accessible to as many people as possible. So the fact that they're often between like $10 and $20, and that's it for a lot of valuable content.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the actual like hours of content per course, they're pretty good. However, if you want regional pricing, I would get in touch with Teachable, who host our thing, and ask them, because the more people who do that, the more likely they are to put the feature in.
Well, it certainly wasn't there last time I looked, so if they've added it since then, that's something we can look into. Swag shop. We keep mentioning merch on and off over the years.
Where are you getting these? I'm not seeing these questions.
In the live streaming chat.
No, I'm looking at the live streaming chat. The last thing I see is you.
Perhaps that stopped working for you. Your computer's like, I'll give you the video. That's it.
Probably.
Yes, you're quite right, Governor. The Governor says, I also think the price is fair. There's also a lot of work involved in creating a course that lasts several hours.
There is. I mean, these courses are huge. However, I am aware, and Mikey's aware, that, here's a whole bunch of things that just came up on my thing.
Bloop, bloop.
There is a massive difference in disposable income in different parts of the world. Like, we get that. Jan petting a cat shirt. Yeah, sure. I'm down.
We will certainly look at things like merch more, maybe later on this year, maybe next year. It's not on the horizon at the moment because, surprisingly, there's actually quite a bit. And I think I can speak for Jan here as well when we say that we don't want to just go to somewhere like, I think it's Teespring or something along those lines and just get things printed. We want to be able to make sure that what we're producing, whether it's us doing it or a third party, is of a certain quality as well.
Yeah,
I've never used Teespring, by the way. It's not a judgment on them.
We're not simply in this to make as much money as possible, as evidenced by the fact that I live in a green void.
Turn the gravity on.
Why buy Horizon Forbidden West when you can buy the Godot course for the same price and make your own Horizon Forbidden West? Well, Horizon Forbidden West is going to be very difficult for one person to make. But I do very much appreciate the sentiment.
I hope everybody heard Jan then. But
yes, there will be a new complete Godot course, not what we're calling it, like Discovering Godot, for Godot 4.
Yeah. As soon, well, I won't say as soon as it's out, because when it's out, then Jan can get racing with the content.
I mean, until we're at least in beta, there's no point making courses in this yet.
Thanks, Governor. We appreciate it.
So, yeah, I think that's a good place to end. So, folks, thank you so much for joining us. I had a lovely time. Thank you for the jelly and the ice cream.
One day, I'm going to pull up a little bowl of jelly and ice cream. Well, cream, because we'd have been sat here for an hour and I don't have a fridge or freezer right next to me. But thank you, everybody. And
thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we shall see you all, hopefully, next week, same time.
Yep. Bye. Press the button.
Press it.
Press it.